I'd like to welcome you to the community meetup. We are changing the weekly wrap-up to a community meetup where like-minded customs professionals meet and discuss a key focus event of last week. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today. I have prepared a presentation on the WTO MC13, which is wrapping up right now on the 1st of March, and this will be our focus theme for this community meetup. And then we'll have the opportunity to discuss it and talk about all the other questions that you have specifically for those operating in customs and global trade. So whether it's import, whether it's export, this is your opportunity to connect wherever you are in the world and discuss things that matter to you. Now, let me tell you how it works. So I've just moved here to the top right of the corner. I hope you can see me still. Hello. And here is what the new format's going to look like. So we have something that we call community meetup for customs and global trade. Today is the 1st of March. Here are the slides. And the good news is I'm not going to send these slides to you post-event. I'm going to put them in the chat right about now, and you can download them right away. So you walk away by attending this meeting live with the slides of this meeting right away and other documents that I'm going to be discussing. So you don't need to wait for anything to come through the mail. It's going to be in your chat, and all you need to do is download it right away. So take a look. I've already posted it, and you can download this presentation right now, and also the press release of the EU Commission regarding the services agreement. So how is this the new format going to work? Well, we listen to your feedback, and this is what we're going to do. Thanks to your feedback information, you said, well, less is more. So please do not run through the entire updates that you have in the Customs Manager, which covers so many topics, 24 topics or so on, that we look at every week. Please focus on one. The rest you're going to review when you look at the Customs Manager magazine yourself. So we're going to look at one topic, and that topic per week is the WTO, which wraps up just about now, hopefully. And then we're going to have a session for your questions or your comments or your discussions. Of course, you're free to speak right now. We're going to record it and we're going to put it on socials. So you're very free to come in at any time. But there is a specific session where you said, Arne, switch off the camera. Let's talk for like real professionals do. And let's discuss all the different matters that are important: classification, origin, AEO, new customs rules, all of it. And let's do it in private, in our community. So we're introducing Chatham House rules. And if you Google that, you will find out basically that's where we switch off the camera and we're going to discuss everything, except you can't attribute it to anybody who's in the meeting. Yeah. So there's going to be no record of this. We're just going to have a bit of a chat, if you know what I mean. So with that said, today, we're going to focus on the outcome of the WTO 13th Ministerial in the public part of this meeting. This is the feature article on customsmanager.info. Now, the Customs Manager magazine kindly sponsors this community meetup, so we're grateful. And you can read about what every customs manager should know about the WTO Ministerial Conference over on customsmanager.info right now. So what is the WTO Ministerial, the 13th edition? The Ministerial is really the highest decision-making body of the WTO. And this is a crucial event that happens usually every 2 years. This year, it takes place in Abu Dhabi. It was supposed to wrap up yesterday, but as you can know, it kind of didn't. So what happened? It serves as a platform of all WTO members, countries, and customs unions to come together. And now they are supposed to decide, and they have been deciding for quite a long time, but they haven't reached an agreement yet. So this is why the whole thing got prolonged a little bit. And the event is important because it is attended by ministers from around the globe who will be reviewing the performance of the multilateral trading system and shaping the future work of the WTO. So What's going on? Where are we? At the end, this is the 1st of March, so the whole thing is wrapped up, so or is about to finish. So what happened? Well, look, the key achievement, in my opinion, is actually in the area of services. The WTO posted it and the EU Commission posted it too. New rules to simplify trade in services have entered into force. It's a set of rules agreed on the joint initiative of domestic service regulations, and it will streamline the way you offer services in third countries. So if you want to be a lawyer and you want to operate in America, but you are actually registered in Mexico, then now you can do that more easily. So there's a way to publish the rules, and that is the need to publish rules as regards services and setting up in countries around the world. And that's supposed to help predominantly small and medium enterprises. So I have put the press release into the chat function right now. You can look at it and learn more about this significant achievement. Up next, the big question that up to this point of time, I have no answer to, because the latest doesn't show me what the results are, but maybe by the time you're watching this, we already have an agreement, which we hope will countries slap customs duty on electronic transmissions. One of the critical issues in MC13 revolves around renewing the electronic transaction customs duty moratorium. And WTO members have routinely agreed not to impose customs duty and taxes on these communications until the next ministerial conference. So this is known as the moratorium on electronic transmissions. Now, the WTO has been divided on this, and some argue that this is good for business, and others express concern about the electronic or the practicalities of it and the impact it has during an economic slowdown. There are several options that are being discussed. The outcome, at this point, not sure. If it doesn't get agreed, then it automatically lapses, and therefore countries are free to add customs duties onto electronic transmission. How that works in practice, don't even know. But here you can see the work's been hard. And you can see that here we looked at the EU Commissioner and his efforts to extend the e-commerce, what's known as the e-commerce moratorium. You also saw that he was involved in a debate on the reform of the dispute settlement mechanism, critical to preserve rules-based global trade. And you can, so this is another feature that features greatly in the WTO, and it is this slide here. It is about the reform of the decision-making body of the WTO. And I call it last chance for the WTO. Without its essential decision-making body, the settlement mechanism, and the WTO can't really function effectively. And in June 2022, it was agreed to review it. Now we hope that based on an MC12 outcome document, we should reform the WTO in a way that allows for a fully functioning dispute settlement mechanism. So far, it doesn't look like this is the round that's going to get to the result, especially regarding the appellate body as a crucial element of the dispute settlement mechanism, and that in the past is ineffective, doesn't work. So without this decision-making body, the WTO seems like a toothless tiger and cannot respond effectively to any trade dispute. So it seems to be paralyzed, and we need this reform in order to unlock this paralyzation and make decision-making effective again. Well, that's one way of thinking about it. I mean, there are others that agree. If you ask the Director General, I don't think she would put it in just these words. I skipped over something that's also really important, and that's this one. Yeah, the WTO is talking about fish, a lot of fish, and fish is really important. And it's about curbing harmful fishery subsidies. There is an agreement on fishery subsidies that was agreed at the last ministerial, and it prohibits the support for illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. At this conference, the ministers tried to find formulas, additional disciplines, in order to prevent overcapacity and overfishing. We need to reach 2/3 of all WTO members to finalize the 2022 commitments and for the agreement to enter into effect. We need quite a few more. And at the time of this recording, we haven't quite reached the required 2/3 of WTO members at this time. So on to more positive news. We have Comoros and Timor-Leste ready to join the WTO. They have been approved by the MC13, which is great. There are quite a lot of countries that wish to join. I saw a press conference where they were talking, especially mentioning the Arab states. Quite a few Arab states are not yet included. So here you could see that, there's still a significant interest in countries joining the WTO. Well, that's good, right? A more controversial issue is agricultural subsidies. And I call this feeding the world, but how? Yeah, so reducing tariffs, subsidies, and export restrictions in agri-food and agri-food imports remains tricky. And the chair of the Agricultural Committee has introduced draft text for conclusion. And with that, he has to strike a balance between WTO members. And that's difficult because the objective or the ideas, they range. So in this text, we have several key negotiation topics from domestic support, agricultural markets access, safeguarding mechanism, export restrictions, something on cotton that was highly discussed, procurement and food, etc., stockholding. Everything that could be a distortion to trade should be reduced. But really what constitutes that is difficult, and food is life. So there's only a limited amount of preparedness to move on this and open your economies more. So therefore, we are thinking about a better understanding of what each delegate wants rather than a full-blown conclusion. But again, maybe magic can happen. And of course, one of the big issues that the WTO should really progress on is, will the WTO pull their weight and conclude progress or make progress on fighting climate change and supporting the protection of our environment? This is a big deal, and global trade is part of the solution. There are the UN Agenda 2030 and the sustainability goals. There are environmental issues like climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And we need the WTO to pull its weight. Will it do that at MC13? I am not sure. I am understanding that there should be enhanced process for the WTO Committee on Trade and Environment. There will also be a first ministerial discussion on sustainable development. So hopefully we'll see some concrete results on plastic pollution and reform of fossil fuel subsidies, something that started just over to the other corner in not in Abu Dhabi, but in Dubai at the COP28, which took place earlier just recently in Dubai. So hopefully we'll see some in the final conclusions on that. And that is actually it. That is the focus of today. I wanted to thank you for listening to my explanation on the WTO. As you can see, there is quite a lot that's still up in the clouds, was not decided yet. We can only wish that as we speak, the negotiators are coming up with a bold and ambitious package of WTO reform. You saw the next slide already. That is a really big one. I just want to give you a few announcements for next week. If you can join us next week, I would greatly appreciate it. Why? Because it's International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and we're going to expand this session to 1 hour. We're going to have 1 hour opportunity to meet and to listen to inspiring stories of women in customs and global trade as we celebrate the achievements of women internationally. So we call it Inspiring Inclusion, which is the theme of the International Women's Day for next week. Inspiring Inclusion in Customs and Global Trade. It happens next week, Friday, the 8th of March, 2024, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. UK time. It's an online event, and you can register here. And I'm extremely proud to announce that we have two amazing speakers already secured, and we're working on more. The keynote speaker, I am so excited for this one, is Michelle Perola, a head of unit customs policy at the European Commission, Directorate General Taxation and Customs Union. And we're going to hear from her how to make a career working for a public sector institution, and notably the European Commission, a European institution, and making it big in customs. And we're even as excited that we have a welcome address from the Lord Mayoress herself, World Trader Elizabeth Manelli, is going to join us and say a few welcoming words on this so important day. She is the current Lord Mayor of the Mayoress of the City of London Corporation, and as such is accompanying the Lord Mayor on many trips abroad, talking about world trade, about inclusion, and the fantastic role that women play in promoting world trade and an inclusive society. So I can't wait to hear her comments and then listen to the keynote speech from Michelle, and there'll be plenty of opportunity for us to ask questions and talk about how we celebrate women next week. It's from 12 to 1, and I'd really welcome any participation. So share this broadly and join us. Yes, and then I'd like to remind you that there are the timings for next week. They are as follows. The Customs Manager is published on Monday at 6 a.m. The Export Control Sanctions Manager published on Wednesday, 6 a.m. The live wrap-up is at 12 p.m. And we're gonna incorporate this into the International Women's Day celebration, so there won't be any lunch and learn next week. And then I wanted to remind you of the various community training events that are happening. We've got a CBAM training that's happening on the 5th of March, CDS for exports in the afternoon, the 5th of March, then International Women's Day on the 8th of March. And then becoming an authorized economic operator is our training on the 18th of March. SPS rules and veterinary controls happens on the 25th of March. And then it's successful exporting, which is ideal for those starting off, on the 27th of March. And you can register at the same webpage, www.customsmanager.org/events. Finally, I want to point you out and encourage you to take a look at next week's articles, the feature articles in the Customs Manager and the Export Control Sanctions Manager magazines. So on the Customs Manager, we will talk about changes to transit, proof of union status goes electronic. What does that mean for business? So you get that feature article on www.customsmanager.info next week. And then in the magazine itself, you should look out for the new CBAM Q&A, which are quite substantive. And on the Export Control and Sanctions Manager, we're going to talk about AMLA and the EU deciding that AMLA moves to Frankfurt, which is not that surprising given that the European Central Bank is there. But what will it do? How does it impact trade? All of that on Wednesday with the Export Control and Sanctions Manager, our key feature article. And with that, I'd want to remind you that we're really good on socials. So if you want to connect with us, there are ways you can do that. Here you can see email address, number, YouTube, LinkedIn. Subscribe and join us, and then you'll never miss a video and an update again. And of course, if you want to receive updates from us, then there's the link where you can drop your email address. With that said, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us for this public session. And now I am excited to talk to you offline under Chatham House rules. So we're going to end this video here, and we're going to go straight into the discussion and debate. And I welcome your question. I welcome your topics and all offline. As I said, you've got all the documents now in the chat. You can download them and have them available. And for further read, you have the presentations here as well. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. And for those watching online, thank you for joining us online. For those watching on demand, thank you so much. And now we're going to stop the recording and answer your questions and have